Blake, be honest. How'd you actually get your wife to marry you?
Toby, you've never seen a marriage certificate.
Welcome to the Church Gear Podcast, where we pull the tech out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
I'm your host, Blake Hodges, a man who has been trying to get this marriage certificate to get me my real ID for months, and it has not worked. And I'm here with the only person on earth who has a real ID, Toby Walters.
So this real ID thing, when does this episode drop? Is this like reasonably soon that this is going to come out?
It's like most things, it's either going to come out in like 2 weeks or 4 months.
Okay.
Because of the way our series are running.
Totally. But for any of our listeners that still don't have their real ID, look, I feel your pain. Thankfully, my wife did the legwork for me. She went to the DMV. She waited in line. She stayed there for hours.
Are you kidding me now?
No, hold on. She realized what documentation was needed, and then she got her real ID and then told me, okay, here's very specifically everything you need to bring. And so I was able to get the last appointment it's down in Columbia, which is an hour away from where we live. But I actually got mine in time for the May 7th deadline. But Blake, you're nowhere to be found in this real ID world.
I thought you were about to tell me that your poor wife sat in line for you on your behalf. And I was about to give you like 10 things you had to do to make up for this.
She would. She's that nice to me. But no, I didn't ask her to do that.
I was going to drive over 2 hours in the middle of the workday to go get my real ID in Cleveland, Ohio. But Church Gears.
Cleveland, Ohio? You mean Tennessee?
Cleveland, Tennessee.
There you go.
Church Gears' stupid payroll system won't show our social security number. And that's 2 of the 4 ways that I could verify my social. So, I might have lost my social security card. So it's Church Gears' fault for not displaying our social on our pay stub, Dan. So it's actually an ADP thing. It's not him.
And again, my wife is the holder of my social security card. She has all my important documents. What would I do? What would you do without your wife, Blake?
Listen, my wife doesn't listen, so I'll just say it. My wife doesn't keep up with jack. Truly, if I died, it's over for her.
Yeah.
I have all of the bills, all the official stuff. I do everything. Money doesn't even exist to her. Like, she just has this card that reloads for money on it.
Now, I made the prompt from the beginning, how does she actually get your wife? I legit think, because I've heard Allison talk about this, that she is attracted to your responsibility.
It is, I play a doofus on this podcast, but because I'm afraid in life, I am really responsible. And she grew up in I shouldn't be mean. She grew up in an area of the world where there was a bunch of hicks. Mm-hmm. And she told me she didn't think that there were any dudes that were like responsible. So my bare minimum in Hickville is pretty good. So that's how I got married.
And, most of us in the rest of the world would call it OCD, like your desperate need to close every door. Are there doors that just stay open in your house? Like bedroom doors? Do they stay open in your house?
No. Are you kidding me? Toby, when I'm home alone to shower, I lock the door. Like, for reals.
Yeah, you're a weirdo. So my strategy to get my wife is that I think her parents raised her to marry someone predictable and safe. And we have dubbed him my alter ego named Thomas. So Thomas has a real job.
He's an accountant.
Yes, he's an accountant, or he sells insurance. I mean, if she really aims high, he's like a doctor or a lawyer. But he certainly has health benefits.
That's true. George doesn't have any health benefits.
And he tucks in his shirt and he doesn't say inappropriate things. So my wife completely rebelled against that. And she's like, what's the opposite of that? The opposite of Thomas is Toby. Toby doesn't even have a shirt that tucks in. Toby says, slightly sketchy.
Slightly? The stuff on the cutting room floor is up to my neck of things we have to cut out of this podcast.
But, humor is so much about, for me, my wife thankfully thinks I'm funny.
Toby, you know what I'm realizing? Both of us, I'm going to get really raw on this podcast.
Yeah? Okay.
Both of us got our wives out of rebellion. Mm-hmm. Like, that's why they chose us. It had nothing to do with us. Uh-huh. My wife was pissed at her parents and her best friend, who also hated me because I'm not good at making, non-enemies. Mm-hmm. And so she messaged me. She finally returned my messages because she's like, I'm going to go on a date with this guy out of revenge. Like, she was trying to spite other people. Well, she'd never dated anybody. And I was like, gotcha. And so I never let her back into the dating pool. And so, but look at us, both, getting married because of revenge.
And we both met our wives before internet dating was really a thing. I mean, it didn't even exist when I met my wife, but how did you at first meet your wife?
In church, when they tell you to turn around and meet the person behind you and it's really awkward, do it. If you're single. If you're not, keep that hand to yourself. You might end up having what's it called? An affair. You might end up in a Coldplay concert.
And then mine was an announcement at church. Hey, there are 2 new small groups forming. If you're interested in a small group, either go talk to Jason about his group or Shelly about her group. I'm like, I'll go talk to Shelly.
So the formula is go to church and find a woman that's mad at her parents. Okay.
Perfect.
So that is me and Toby on finding a wife. What we would like to know, how do you find a husband? So we're going to bring in the freelance producer and show caller who previously spent 7 years in the team at Passion, working across both Passion City Church and Passion conferences, Makenzie Collins. Makenzie, did you end up getting married because you were mad at your parents?
I don't know that I got married because I was mad at my parents, but I did meet my husband at church.
There you go.
3 for 3. How at church? How'd you meet him at church?
He also worked on the staff team at Passion at the time. He was a filmmaker. I was a producer. We always joke that he made the videos and I rolled them. And I originally turned him down when he asked me on a date, but a year later I changed my mind.
Nice.
Okay. Why'd you turn him down? Why'd you say yes? This is some great advice for people.
Honestly, I turned him down because I was immature at the time. I wasn't ready. And a year and a half later, I think it was, I saw him at a concert. And I know this is silly, but it's like the scales fell off my eyes. And it was like, where have I been? This man is amazing. He loves the Lord. I'm going to see if he's into it still. And we never stopped talking after that. So we've been married 5 years.
Okay. Is he better looking because he's funny, or is he funnier because he's better looking?
That's a great question. He's funnier because he's better looking for sure.
See, I wish that was how my wife described me, but I'm definitely better looking because I'm funny, Blake.
I'm funny because I'm fat. I'm now kind of worried for the lesson we just put out there. Hey, if she says no now, just wait a year and a half. The scales will fall off her eyes.
Persistence.
Well, that was what I did. I kept messaging my wife for like a year, and she was like, no. And then eventually she was mad at her parents, so she said yes.
And here you are.
Okay, but let me be clear. He was never creepy. And that was the thing that really won me over at the end of the day. He was just a friend. He was around. We were in the same friend group. And I was like, you know what? He's awesome. He's proved it to me for a long time. So don't be creepy, guys. It's weird.
There is a thin line between persistence and stalker.
I was just about to say, you know what the line is? If you're hot or not. Like
that definitely helps.
I'm just saying, there's no one has ever been a stalker that's been hot.
Yeah, that's true. Because I've never had a hot stalker.
Well, I don't know that we need to use that as the bar. There's no segue from that, Toby. I'm going to stalk my way into our first question, which is, Makenzie, we would, you came highly recommended to us by Jay. We were like, we got to have Makenzie on the pod. You've worked on some of the biggest live productions in the Christian space. So how'd you get your start in production? Can you give us a snapshot of your work so far?
Yeah, I actually fell into production. I was not planning on it. I wasn't really trained for it. I had a year-long internship with Passion. And after that, was looking for a way to plug in at my church. One of my friends said, hey, come be a stage manager. And I literally asked her what that meant. I was clueless. I had no clue about production. So I was a volunteer as a stage manager and then eventually a kids producer in our kids space. And really just was around for 7 years, kind of worked my way up and was a producer for our main auditorium after a while. And then I got the privilege of leading a group of producers. And so, was with Passion for 7 years and then eventually also got to work full-time with the Passion Conferences team, helping to project manage all of the programming for Passion Conferences events. So it's been great.
Blake, when she said she fell into production, I just had this image of she's walking across the stage and trips and falls into an orchestra pit filled with wires. And she's like, help, I can't get out. I'm in production.
I try not to interrupt our guests too much. I wanted to say did you break any bones? Yes.
Yeah. We're so dumb, Blake.
Well,
sometimes I think even, we're too dumb for our own good.
I ran our timestamps through AI once and it said the first minute was 2 idiots start a podcast. And I'm wondering if we said that or if it's calling us that.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe our guests all said it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Makenzie, we all see the social media content online of the Passion Conference. We see, Jeff Sandstrom's post from front of house or like all the monitor worlds underneath. I assume, though, that there are real heroes behind the scenes that are doing the hard work, all the planning, all the work that goes into it. Can you give us some real behind the scenes look and information about what it takes to put on a Passion Conference?
Yeah, for sure. Passion conferences would not run without a huge team. First of all, I think the most important person to shout out, the most important team, is the Black and White Live team. Ian Cattle has been our production manager since 2013, and he's so organized and just does a really stellar job putting together a professional team and caring well for people along the way, making sure everything goes off without a hitch. Just to kind of give a scale, when we do stadium events, like when we're at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, we have about 350 people on the production crew, and that's not including, local labor that will come in and help our riggers. So a lot of our show crew are door holders who are serving every week at Passion City Church, locations to make church happen. And then it's all led by Ian, who puts together a great team led by about 15 department leads. So Ian's huge, but the real MVPs of Passion conferences that I want everyone to know about are the production assistants. So we've got, depending on the size of the venue, there's about 5 to 25 production assistants who literally keep the team running. Sometimes people can't get out of their seats and get off comm between, sound checks and before the session starts. So the only way they're fed or have water or have a run sheet in front of them or updated, sermon notes or whatever it might be is because of the production assistants. And they literally, track miles and miles of walking around these venues, just making sure people are taken care of and that the people who are in positions are equipped to do their job. So we love the production assistants, and we would not be anything without them. We'd be falling apart. And then, of course, you've got to, give a shout out to the Passion Conferences team. There's 8 people who spend their weeks planning every aspect of Passion Conferences, from where the resources locations are going to which entrance the attendees are using to what time each session starts. And they are the realest of the real people. I got to work with them, and I think they're all amazing. So, yeah.
So we often think of like Passion and Passion City Church, and the rest of the world probably gets confused. Like, are those the same thing? Are they two totally separate entities? Does staff cross over? Like, how many people are just Passion Conference, like full-time staff that puts that on every year?
Yeah, great question. It is kind of confusing. It's 8 people full-time, and then of course under the direction and the leadership of Louie and Shelley and Brad Jones as well. And a couple of other people speak into it. But regarding full-time at Passion Conferences, it would be 8 people.
Okay. And what level of planning and organization goes into putting that thing on? Are you guys just getting into it 6 weeks ahead of time, throwing stuff together?
No way. There are site visits. There are spreadsheets. There is a Dropbox folder that would just absolutely kind of make you go cross-eyed if you didn't know what you were looking at. The team is working on, depending on, where we're at, sometimes up to 3 years in advance, thinking about where are we going to be in 3 years, which venue is right for us, trying to, get time with the venues. And sometimes it doesn't work out that we're able to be at certain venues, and we get to have a challenge of finding a new spot and figuring out how to do an event there, because it's a space we've really never been in. So,
yeah. Is there just one conference location every year, or do you guys spread out? Do you do multiple conferences?
Yeah, it depends on the year. Back in 18 and 19, we had multiple locations all happening simultaneously. So in 2018, it was 3 locations, all live linked, happening at the same times in 2 time zones. So that was kind of confusing and a mind melt. And then in 2019, it was 4 locations.
Anything ever go wrong in those live link situations?
What are you talking about? No way. It's always
for the disaster stories later.
Yeah, they're things we learn every year. We learn something new every year.
Blake, you as a project manager at heart, does that get your heart aflutter, or does that, induce anxiety of thinking the level of planning that goes into that?
So there's always that moment at first, right, Makenzie, where you do the project, you see the scale, and the first moment you're like that's scary. But Then after that, it gets a little less scary. And so to have 3 years of runway, not like at church gear, we're like, well, better get to that marketing on Monday and it's Friday night. That sounds amazing. Like 3 years of a production schedule. I was purring over here, you know?
Mm-hmm. You're getting all a flutter about spreadsheets and Dropbox and all sorts of organization.
I'm purring just like my fat cat Kylo back at the house.
Makenzie, what are some, diehard principles that you've learned through organizing these events that you could share with other churches that put on events from just back to school bash to, other churches are doing things like the Harvest Crusade. And, what are some of those timeless principles that you're like, never leave home without thinking about this?
I think her principles never leave home. In the event can't go wrong.
That's right.
It's true. If you're not there, you don't know what's happening.
Yep.
No, that's a really great question. And the truth is all events are scalable. Like the bones exist in every event, no matter what scale you're leading an event. But I think the most important thing, no matter how many people are coming or no matter how long you have to plan it for it, is leading with why and helping people understand and connect what we're doing to the bigger picture and what God is doing and where God is leading. And I know that sounds kind of, a little too churchy, but the reality is it's true. If you're disconnected from why you're doing it, then you're probably going to get overwhelmed and frustrated pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But practically, I think it's really important to staff your weaknesses. And we in production hate to admit that we have a weakness. I can do it all, right? But the reality is you don't know it all, and that's actually okay. And it's good to surround yourself with people who are better than you at things and who are experts in their craft, and to know your limitations. So don't try to be the hero. Another way you can not try to be the hero is to delegate. And this is a lesson that I have learned in the hardest of ways, but you can't do it all. There's not enough time in the day. And you're not going to be a hero if you try to do it all. You're probably going to run yourself into the ground and potentially completely melt down. So it's important to figure out what are the things that only I can do and how do I delegate the things that someone else can do. And I just was thinking about anyone who might be listening to this. And I just want to say, if you feel like you can't delegate because you're a one-person production team or you're starting a new event, that you're the only person that has margin and capacity to plan for this event, get with your leadership team and help them understand your limits and help them understand why you're in the place that you're in and why you need help, because we need healthy people in production. I don't think we talk about that very often, but sometimes production people are not very healthy, and we can do better in that. But another practical thing is to ask your volunteers if they want to help, because I have always found when I ask people if they want to help, most of the time they're willing to jump in. So those are a few things. I have some other thoughts about communication flow and folder structure, but the reality is, like I said, events are scalable, and it's all kind of got the same bones.
Sounds like you could really nerd out if we let you.
Yes, that's for sure.
Toby, that's what a podcast is for. Ask the nerdy questions.
Blake, I wanted to make the joke that I learned how to delegate. That's why I don't do any work anymore. And then I just give it all to you.
If you mean learn to delegate, I would say we clawed the functions of church gear away from you, and you still are jumping up trying to take them back every now and then.
Every now and then. Yeah, speaking as a recovering do-it-all-yourselfer. Because I, for many years before church gear was church gear, it was still the same concept, much smaller, and I did everything. And so then as it grew into a company, yes, it was very tricky to give away pieces of what I had been doing. But I also am here to tell you that it's a very healthy thing to learn. And if you're a one-person production team and you're thinking the last thing I have time to do is train somebody else to do this, you got to find a way to stop and train somebody else to do it, because otherwise you're going to die. You're going to burn out. It's all going to fall apart.
I mean, I respect that. Church gear was your baby, but you had to cut off a baby arm, give it to Sarah, cut off a baby toe, give it to me, cut off a baby hand, give it to Frank.
Notice how I give an arm to Sarah, but only a toe to you.
Had to split the baby.
Very Solomon style of you.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'd be the opposite of Solomon style because I'm cutting this baby out. All right, Toby, take it from me.
Mackenzie's like, what did I get myself into? Makenzie, we'd like to ask you for your perspective as a woman in production at church. We we often like to think that we just have this cliche in our mind. Oh, the production team are just the dudes. They wear black shirts. They have beards. What are some of the other cliches?
They drink bourbon. They smoke cigars.
Yeah. They're introverted. But
they watch Star Wars.
Yeah. We've had so many great female guests and realize that production teams become much better when women get involved. So can you give our listeners some helpful tips if they don't have many women on their team? What are some good ways to recruit some women onto their teams?
Yeah, for sure. I love this question. I'm really passionate about women in production, and I believe that men and women are the same in dignity and worth, but they're definitely different from each other, and that's a good thing. And production teams need women. We bring something unique to production teams. And so I guess I'll speak to kind of like the team that's looking to, make sure that there's a space for women there. And I would just say, create a culture that is welcoming to women where, I would say production guys, even church production guys, kind of get a bad rap for being crass or rude or generally just saying things that like aren't cute or treating people poorly or treating women poorly. I've had some experiences where I've been like, hey, you wouldn't treat another guy like that. Why are you treating me like that? So just like look around if you're a leader of a production team and ask yourself, is this an environment where women would be welcomed and would be safe? And I would say, our call is to have a culture that is wholesome and honors God in the way that we conduct ourselves. But I also want to mention to women that are currently on production teams, go talk to your friends about it. If you love serving, then go invite women to come and be a part of it with you. I think it's a really cool way to plug into your church and to serve and to open a way for people to experience Jesus. And we women should be better about helping other women win. And I say that having learned this lesson myself. I've had times where I've felt like there wasn't space for another woman on the team. And that was super immature and very selfish of me to want to be the only woman. But we only get better whenever our teams get more diverse. And that's men and women is just one of the ways. And I when I first started, I was kind of afraid of production. I was a little afraid to ask questions and to look stupid. And it just took me a while to realize that when I've asked people to explain something to me, most of the time they're really excited to talk about it. The quickest way to get an audio guy to not shut up is to ask him about his plugins or the way that he's EQing the drums or whatever problem that you just want to have him talk on and on and on about. And that applies to every function. Like every guy, every production guy or girl would love to just tell you about what they do and why they love it. And so I have found that once I was willing to be teachable and jump in and ask questions, I found myself realizing that this was a home for me and that I have gifts and talents that are unique to bring to this space that I just never would have thought before.
That's great. Blake, you and I are never in danger of having a boys club where we, make an environment that's not welcoming to women, right?
Don't look at all the boys' nights invites on my calendar. Hey, speaking of boys' night, last boys' night, I stole Frank's trailer. It was in the parking lot.
Nice.
So Frank left his trailer in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And he was taking up a prime.
Serves him right.
It was a prime space.
Yes.
And so for boys' night, we got only me because the other two don't want their name on it. And I pulled it all the way to the end of the parking lot. Mm-hmm. But we don't have boys' nights at church here.
No. And of course, Mackenzie's thinking that sounds like the kind of nonsense you'd love to get up to. I'd love to steal a trailer, right, Mackenzie?
Sounds fun.
I think just, a good helpful piece of advice. I mean, I tell this to myself, production teams, if you're made up of all men, probably at least one of you are married. Ask your wife honestly, hey, is our team just really, unwelcoming to women and we don't even realize it? Would you even come volunteer and help make our team more open that women would want to join, help recruit the women? Because it is difficult when you don't have a woman's perspective. Think I didn't even realize that we're men and we're crass and this isn't something that women wouldn't get involved in.
Well, and we've had, I don't know what our guest makeup is, but I'd say somewhere around 10 to 15% have been female guests. And it seems pretty common that once one girl's on the team,
yeah,
then it starts to kind of pick up a lot.
That's true.
It can get to that 50-50 ratio. So you just need one person to be bold.
And it's so interesting to see production teams when I go visit churches, when they're balanced well with men and women, the team is so much nicer and softer and more welcoming. And it just feels right.
Well, because you know what comes with the boys club? Everyone being a jerk to each other.
All right.
Oh, no.
Blake, it's your favorite time of the episode.
I think this might be our last one.
No, it depends on when it comes out. It's never going to be the last one. You
gosh.
will always be baffled. This is time for Baffle Blake, brought to you by our friends at HouseRight. All right, Blake, it is time to baffle you again.
Isn't that just the whole podcast, Toby?
That usually is, but specifically, we're partnering with our friends at HouseRight to baffle you in this new segment we like to refer to as Baffling Blake. So HouseRight is an amazing integration team that works with almost exclusively churches all over the country to partner with their architects in pre-building phase or current room renovations, where they help make sure that your space looks aesthetically pleasing, but also acoustically correct for the style of worship that your church is trying to achieve.
You said the word architect, and I just haven't heard anything since. I'm like, that sounds way too technical. That's above my pay grade, but it's not above HouseRight's pay grade.
No, it should be above all our pay grades, but HouseRight does this all the time, and they're amazing at it. And if you are not specifically looking for an integration project, but you're like, hey, I am looking for my next career or opportunity, HouseRight is also hiring amazing people to join their team.
They're hiring.
They are hiring. So if you have been looking at the map and looking at Lexington, Kentucky, very lovingly because of horse racing and bourbon and HouseRight.
And high-proof bourbon at that.
Yes. Go to HouseRight.com, check out their opportunities, and start a conversation. All right, Makenzie. So, I warned you ahead of time. We got a game, and we're going to pit you against Blake. And I've curated a perfectly 100% accurate 5 questions around Passion Conference. So
This is TBT.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, Toby style.
So the
I'm
question
so ready.
is, are these moments real or fake about Passion Conference, according to our friends at ChatGPT? Which is just software, coming up with the predicting the next token. All right. Number 1, true or false, real or not, during one Passion opener, a haze machine.
Nope, you got to say that now. Haze machine.
Haze machine.
Hey, can you haze machine my haze machine?
A haze machine tripped the fire alarm and caused a pre-show evacuation of nearly 50,000 students. True or false, Makenzie?
False.
And you just can't copy, or you're going to have to go the
I
opposite,
was
Blake.
leaning forward so much that my fat roll and ab got caught when I started laughing at you, and that hurt. I have to lean back now. I'm going to say true.
Well, Makenzie got it right. It's false. I mean, she
You
would
led
know.
the witness by saying I had to say opposite. That's not how the game even works. Why did I listen to you?
All right, Blake, I'll let you go first on the next one.
All right, 1-0. Here we go.
Next up, the Passion production team once had to rebuild an entire LED wall between night sessions because the design literally collapsed during sound check. Blake, true or false?
I mean, how would ChatGPT know this? I'm going to say false.
Okay. Makenzie?
I'm going to say false.
That is true, according to ChatGPT.
Malarkey.
So you both lose the point on that one.
All right,
it's still 1-0.
1-0.
Mackenzie's still winning. All right, next up. Someone once crowd surfed during a Passion worship set and was removed by security. Blake, true or false?
Listen, I work in the youth ministry. I know there was one beloved dumb soul that did that. So yeah, I'm going to say true.
Okay. Makenzie?
I'm also going to say true.
All right, that is true. You both get a point, so it's 2-1. 2-1. All right.
Question 4? Okay.
Next, the phrase, "let's go," was shouted from stage over 100 times across all Passion 2023 sessions. Blake?
Man, this is probably the hardest Baffle Blake question I've ever had.
Wow.
Because that does feel like a kitschy church thing to do. I'm going to say true.
Okay. Makenzie?
I'm going to say false. I'm going to say the number was 82.
All right. It was true. Over 100 times.
Yes. All right. 1-1.
No, it's 2-2.
Is it?
Yeah. So you guys are tied. This is it for all the marbles. All right.
I didn't even know we were playing for marbles. I thought
Yep.
we were playing for a HouseRight prize pack.
Number 5, an inflatable couch floated over the crowd during a Lecrae set.
Oh, man. Man, these are
you're
really
truly baffled right now.
I am baffled. I'm gonna say false.
Okay, Makenzie?
I'm going to say true.
Yes, it's true. Makenzie wins the prize back from HouseRight.
Makenzie, were you there? Had you seen the floating couch?
Guys, I don't think that actually happened. I would remember.
I'm telling you, Toby, this ChatGPT
Maybe
stuff
you
is
were
BS.
backstage and nobody told you about it.
I doubt it.
Toby, at the end of this, are you going to admit, because we're doing this for 18 weeks, are you going to admit that every single one of these was just crap you made up?
Blake, what I'm willing to admit right now is that I don't remember whether they were true or false because I made this outline weeks ago and I can't put the answers in the outline because then you guys would see them.
Oh my gosh.
So
you just...
I fixed the game for Makenzie.
You
Because
freaking...
she deserves a HouseRight pack. We're our friends at HouseRight.
You bucket of turds.
Thanks, guys.
We love our friends at HouseRight, incredible integration company. And if you're looking for your next project at your church or you're looking for your next career opportunity, they are hiring. So go to houseright.com, start the conversation.
If the founder of your company is a bucket of turds like Toby and you would like to get a new job, you should go work at HouseRight, which is what I'll be doing after this episode.
That's right. All right, Makenzie, now that Blake is thoroughly baffled, I'd like to ask you about different seasons of ministry. And if you want to talk about how your season of ministry has shifted recently and how can you kind of encourage our listeners that oftentimes life, everything's a season and how you make those transitions well.
Yeah, I love this. Y'all ask me a lot of great questions. I've said that for every question. This is a great question.
I write all the questions, just to clarify.
Don't
tell me, great job.
This bucket of turds.
No, y'all, transitioning from being a someone who's leading people and in the office 40 hours a week and in the important meetings and always has the answers to being a full-time stay-at-home mom was crazy. I mean, it's the coolest calling that I've ever had. I love my son and I love getting to stay home with him. But I have had to learn how to unravel who I am from what I do. And that's really tough for me. As a perfectionist, I'm always pushing myself to be better and to do better and to learn and grow. I love productivity. I love accomplishing things. I love a checklist. I love marking things off a checklist. When you're changing diapers all day long and your son is 4 months old, there's not much checklisting going on.
Yeah.
And it is a big change. And so I have just had to continue to try to let the Lord work on that in me, the separating what I do from who I am. And that journey started for me when I started in production, 8 years ago or so. And the season has just continued to bring more refinement in that. But I do have to continually remind myself that just because I'm a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't mean that somehow my career is over or my life has ended. And I know that sounds dramatic, but whenever so much of your identity is wrapped up accidentally, but still wrapped up in how you perform and the way that you execute and the way that you lead people. And then it just becomes this one awesome little dude. It's a big change. So it's been a season full of a lot of joy and a lot of new experiences. Have kids. They're amazing. It's the best adventure. If you're asking yourself, should we jump into that season at some point? Blake, I don't know your story, but maybe that's for you.
Me and my husband are doing fine.
Oh my God.
Don't need any kids.
Poor Allison.
I'm just kidding. She always claims Jeremy's my boyfriend. No. Me and my wife are, we got 2 cats. They're working great. I go on vacation for a week, leave them at the house.
That's true.
They're good. I hear you can't do the same with a kid.
You cannot. They come with you or they stay with grandparents.
That's true.
Can you imagine?
Your grandparent options are not great.
Okay. Real talk, guys. They left me with my grandfather when I was like 1 or 2, and they're driving back home and they hit a bump in the road. And apparently I said GD. I'm like 1 to 2 years old. I learned GD staying with the grandparents. I'm still worried I'm going to be held accountable for that when we get to heaven.
Absolutely,
so
you will.
Don't leave them with your grandparents either. Poor Makenzie here. We're asking about having kids.
Now, Makenzie, just the way you're describing yourself with checklists, I'm guessing you're an Enneagram 1, if you know your Enneagram.
How'd you know?
Just a wild guess.
That's true.
And
I am.
Yeah, it's funny how God just throws us into... I have 2 kids, and it doesn't matter your Enneagram number. Your kids don't care.
No.
Checklists, there are no checklists. You can't tell your son, do you know the level of events that I produced? You just threw up all over me.
All he cares about is that you're a great dad to him. And that's all that matters. But I think, to go back to the question, my bottom line encouragement to everybody, like this is what I would want anyone to take away, is no matter what season you're in right now, and no matter what non-ministry season you eventually, probably inevitably find yourself in, you're always still doing ministry, right? I mean, that's the Great Commission. Like, we are Jesus people. We are sent to go make disciples, to live lives that fulfill that Great Commission. And the way that you're doing your ministry might change. It might be one little dude at home most of the time. But you still have the same calling, and you can still go be the church and go show people Jesus wherever you are and to whoever you find yourself around.
Yeah.
And so that has been a very humbling, very exciting journey for me to just think about ministry in a new way and remember that my calling is the same, but my assignment has changed.
Yeah. Does your husband still work with passion?
He is running his own company full-time now.
Okay.
Yeah, he gets to do some work with passion, and we love to get to be a part when we're able to, but he also gets to partner with some other people as well.
And how has his perspective kind of changed now that you guys have a kid? For him, again, as a man, like, we find a lot of identity in our work, and then have kids, and it shifts things.
Yeah. He's a filmmaker, and being able to work from home and make his own schedule, and be able to say yes and no to projects based on what it is going to cost our family has been a really healthy and good thing for us. And I'll let you guess his Enneagram. He loves to get things done. He wants the next accomplishment, and he's a 3. You both are like, that's it.
For the record, I held my hand up before Toby said 3 on the video.
You did.
So I beat the bucket of turds.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, being an accomplisher, he loves the challenge of like always having a new project coming up, and just trying to take a little bit of a different rhythm has been really good and healthy for both of us.
Yeah. It's amazing how many biographies I read of like founders of companies or men that have, in the sense that they get a biography because they've accomplished these great things. How many of them mention in their biographies, my biggest regret in life is how little time I spent with my family. And so just, a reminder, obviously, I think it's such a blessing that you get to stay home full time with your son right now, and you get to make that decision and have that opportunity. But still, like, for all the listeners out there that like, they're trying to balance their work and their ministry at church and their family at home, it's a tricky balance, but you'll never regret the time you spend with your family.
Right. It's true.
Toby, I don't know what you're talking about. The number one thing said on deathbeds is, I wish I had worked harder to maximize shareholder value.
That's right. Well, we don't have shareholders here at Church Gear, so maximize Toby's approval?
Maximize
Brian's approval.
There we go.
Yes, you're working for Brian's approval.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
I ain't working for your approval.
I know.
You bucket of turds. It's just so visceral. Every time I say it, it's so gross.
Mackenzie's going to get off this podcast and tell her husband, these idiots just kept saying bucket of poopies.
Oh my God.
She's going to say it in mom words. She won't say the T word. She'll say poopies.
There we go.
All right, Makenzie, since clearly Blake and I are total disaster, can you inspire our listeners with some passion-themed disaster moments since you were behind the scenes for so many years?
Toby, it was right there. Some passionate disaster stories.
I love this because I got to take a trip down memory lane thinking about some of the best and worst moments. And I came up with 2. So I'm going to break the rules, and I'm doing 2 disaster stories. I don't care if that's against the rules. I'm just doing it.
There are no rules on this podcast.
Perfect. That's my kind of podcast. So Passion 2025, this January, we had 2 events back to back plus church in the middle. So it was a total of 7 days. And we are in the second event. This is in State Farm Arena in Atlanta, session 5 of 6. So we're on the home stretch. Everything has been solid for both events. We are feeling good. It's kind of fun to have like a second pass at some moments that we feel like we maybe could have done better in the first conference.
And are you very pregnant at this point?
I had already had my son. He was 6 months old.
Yeah, for the record, we don't know how old Mackenzie's son is, but since one of the questions said she changed, I guess,
I thought you said your son was 4 months old, but you're probably referencing previously then.
Yeah. My son is 15 months old now.
Right.
So anyways, it's the last night session. There's a guy named Greg on the crew who show calls every Passion conference. He does all of the show calling for everything outside of the talks. And then I do all of the talks. I get to produce all of that. But Greg is starting the session and he's counting in. Carrie and Cody are leading the session. Production team hears 10, 9, 8, nothing. Comms go down. And we didn't realize for a few minutes because the band heard the rest of Greg's count and started, and the video team didn't hear it. And so the cut was behind. There were some weird lighting transitions. Like, it was very clear that the band starting caught the whole room by surprise. So Greg's talking to the comms team. They're led by, let me just shout out the comms team, led by Jeremy Lamori. These guys are incredible. They put up with me asking for 79 comm changes every event and asking for directs to almost every single person on the crew. I love them. They do an incredible job. But comms are down. We're taking them down intentionally for like 3 to 5 minutes at a time because they're trying to diagnose this issue, trying to figure out why we're having intermittent comm interruptions. Meanwhile, Ian's team is running around the arena with radios to bring them to essential people who need to call and receive calls for the message, because we're coming to Louie's message in like less than 20 minutes. And so it's chaos, but Greg is cool as a cucumber. He is hardly even moving. He's not sweating. He's just talking calmly to the comms team. Anyways, comms are down for 30 minutes. We do the entire set with Carrie and Cody on stage with the camera team not hearing any of the 2 directors calling 2 separate cuts. And with us not being able to talk to the stage team, we're texting each other, making sure that we have Louie's mic and we're ready to hit the stage. Comms come up, I kid you not, probably 3 minutes before Louie hits the stage for his talk. And it was a huge team effort. The comms team figured it out. But the learning for me in that time was the show caller has to be the calmest person in the room, always level-headed, because your team's going to feed off of that energy. And if there's trust for the professionals to do their jobs, then you give them space to do their job. And the camera cut was flawless and beautiful, and the comms team figured it out, and it was great. But it was crazy because we had been solid for 6 whole days, and it's like, boom, something happens. And that's just the stuff that happens in production, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in a back room, Jay Desai spilt his Dr. Pepper
on the comm system.
On the comm system.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a network switch that the guys realized was misconfigured, which caused one of the cards on the frame to stop communicating. So once they diagnosed that and they got that reset, they reestablished all the audio streams, and that issue was resolved. But what's wild is we had 120 comm units. 32 were panels, 70 were wireless belt packs, and 18 were wired belt packs. So that's a big group of comms and people not being able to communicate. So it was crazy.
Just start an immediate text chain.
Exactly. I've got a second story if we've got time for it.
Yes, we do.
Okay, perfect. Passion 2019, another conference. So setting the stage. That year, like I mentioned earlier, we had 4 different locations all linked up live at the same time. I, mind you, was like 2 years into learning how to be a producer. And so I am sent to the Dallas location, and I got to bring with me as the co-producer none other than Mr. Jeff Sandstrom.
No way.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I know. Stranger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that Greg has ever been a show caller, or sorry, that Jeff has ever been a show caller before or since, but he and I were a great team that year. It was awesome. But there's 4 events happening concurrently. And as you can imagine, just doing 4 load-ins is a lot to manage. And in Dallas, the whole time, we're at a theater venue with like 7,000 people. And we are kind of chasing our tails the whole time on a time code issue. I'm honestly not smart enough to know all of the details of it. But somehow we're getting different time, like different hour and minute at lighting than we are at servers. And we obviously overhauled our system after that year. Like I said, we're always learning. But we had some really terrible moments throughout the event, where Jeff and I may or may not have said some words that you shouldn't say on comm.
Turd buckets?
Turd buckets, exactly. Bucket of turds.
There it is. That was the correct.
Oh, I mixed it up.
Bucket of turds. But we kind of like crawl our way through the event. But the moment that takes the cake, it involves Carrie and Cody again. For whatever reason, I have bad luck with them, I think. So Carrie is leading in the last session. It's the first song. And it's Forever, which everyone knows Forever, but it starts with, this beautiful like piano and guitar. And all of a sudden, somehow the server links onto the time code for Andy Mineo's Coming In Hot content. And on the LED wall, you guys, there is a giant X-ray of a hand and an arm just panning up the LED wall as Carrie is leading this beautiful song. And Jeff and I are like, please, anything else. Like black is good. Green is fine. Anything else is fine. And the server operator couldn't figure out how to get it disconnected. Anyways, all that to say, that skeleton hand, that segment of the content is somehow looping for like half of the song. It's this beautiful moment. And I wanted to crawl under the desk because I was like, we've ruined it. We've totally ruined everyone's experience.
Should have told people that's actually Carrie's hand and arm. She wanted to use it for very weird, relatable screen.
That's from death to life. Death to life.
That's
right. Oh, that's amazing.
Crazy.
That's amazing. I just got a text. I showed you this, Blake, this weekend that, so First Baptist Orlando, we did an event down there a couple months ago, and somehow our big church gear background screen went onto their LED walls during the message for about 2 minutes. So pastor is preaching and everybody's seeing church gear up on the screen behind him.
Oh no.
So I'm like, yes, free advertising.
That's a nice plug for you. Yeah.
He messaged us. He's like, I don't know if I need to sign a release from y'all or y'all need to pay me for the appearance.
Yep. Either way, we'll just call it a wash.
I thought it was amazing.
So Makenzie, obviously the common theme here is Cody and Carrie. So
somehow.
Yeah. Either you guys are mad at them or they're cursed or something.
Yeah. I can't figure it out.
I was really hoping that one of those stories was going to involve like a Jay Desai, disaster or hero moment.
I mean, he is a walking disaster. So
whoa. No. Jay is like, if I had one person produce my event, it'd be Jay.
Okay.
He's a lovable walking disaster.
He sure is.
Everybody loves Jay.
Yeah, it's that Hawaiian shirt.
A lovable walking disaster. Oh my gosh. That's intense.
You aspire to be
just like Jay
described that someday.
Yes. Well, Makenzie, we wrap all our episodes on a tech takeaway. So what would be your unique piece of advice to a room full of production people? You've seen it all, clearly, between passion and motherhood. I mean, there's nothing else you can leave out in that. So what would you say to a room full of production people?
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to give one to producers, service directors, show callers first, because I'm not following your rules. There's
no laws when you're drinking White Claws, ladies. I mean...
I would say to anyone who would consider themselves any of those kind of titles that leads people and like calls cues on comm, the most important thing is to lead your team with clarity and with confidence, because people pick up on that, both in the tone of your voice, in the words that you say, and even in just like how you carry yourself. And so be assertive, but of course, always be kind. Because confidence is contagious, and your team will feel more secure when they know that you have their backs and you're not questioning all of your calls internally. So lead confidently, producers, show callers. It's really important. And then to everyone, my new soapbox is that production is fun and we should have fun. Be friends with each other, get to know each other. Like if you're on a staff team and you lead volunteers, buy everyone pizza and take them bowling, and make it a rule that no one can wear a stitch of black, and just get to know each other, help them get to know each other, let them get to know you, have inside jokes. Like we can have fun and maintain a high level of maturity and professionalism and still execute excellently while still keeping it lighthearted and joyful. And I actually think it should be lighthearted and joyful, because what we get to do is fun. And it's even more fun when you're doing it with your friends. So make friends with the people that you're doing it with every Sunday, and just be intentional. Have fun. This is fun. Have fun.
I love that. I'm trying to imagine how many production people would be like, I'd have to go buy some clothes if I couldn't wear anything that's black.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any colored shirts at this point either, and I'm not even in production. That's fun. Well, Makenzie, we really appreciate you joining us for this nonsense, for sharing your passion, wisdom with us. Do you have anything you want to plug, anywhere you want to point people towards?
I can hardly keep up with my own personal life on Instagram, so don't go there. But I do have a website if anyone wants to get connected, cloudfirelive.com. Cloud by day, fire by night, like the Israelites in the Exodus. Cloudfirelive.com.
That's a cool website.
That's a great URL right there.
Cloudfire.
I have to say, I stole it from my husband. He was Cloudfire Film first before I was Cloudfire Live.
Nice.
Well, no, that's perfect. You guys are one. It's like sub-brands. That's great.
Yeah.
Or you can go to war.
So then your son can be Cloudfire
Baby.
Cloudfire Baby. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Makenzie.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
And now it's time for a ChurchTech Confessional, where church production people confess the worst thing they've ever done in church production. Here's one now.
We got Nellis 9 years ago, and it was kind of novel because you could control with an iPad too. So when I would have my volunteers come and do sound for different things, I'd sit in the audience with my iPad and start moving faders on them and just watch them as they try to freak out because something's going on. And I never told them, so it was good.
Hey, do you have your own ChurchTech Confessional that's, 45 seconds to 2 minutes? Send it to blake@churchgear.com, and you might just hear it on the podcast.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope to see you back next week for more absurd stories, tech takeaways, and overall buffoonery here at the Church Gear Studios.
All right, Blake. So if Makenzie and her husband are an Enneagram 1 and an Enneagram 3, I feel like they together could conquer the world. But you and I'm a 7, you're an 8. I feel like you and I together could destroy the world.
Well, yeah, which is why we are running to have the nuclear football codes given to us in 2028. Make fun times with nuclear war with Toby and Blake. We gotta cut this. I don't know. You said ruin the world. I was like, what's the quickest way to ruin the world? Get the nuclear codes, right?
Sure, Blake. I think we should just leave this at the end of the episode and just see what happens. Share it with your friends. Let's see if Secret Service actually comes for us, Blake.
I gotta pee.